Florida obviously is a hotspot for retirees. We have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people retiring to Florida on a regular basis, and it's definitely no surprise why. The weather is nice. There's no state income taxes, and the overall ability to travel does not really hinder. There's several major airports, and the cost of living is not too high, although cost of living in Florida has gone up recently, mainly around housing, because of the demand coming from all over the country of people moving into Florida. But if you're retiring to Florida, there are a few things to be thinking about whenever it comes to your retirement plans and your financial plans. The first thing is taxation. Obviously, one of the major benefits of living in Florida is there's no state income tax. However, without a state income tax, there's also other sources of income or taxes, obviously, that should be taken into consideration as you're making your financial plans to retire to Florida. One of the major ones is the property taxes. Property taxes in Florida are typically higher than they are in many other parts of the country, simply because obviously there's no income tax, and so the taxation has to come from somewhere else. And property taxes is one of those areas that taxation comes from. But the other thing to consider with taxation is, of course, if you are a holder of municipal bonds, that is one major benefit of an investment strategy in whenever you're investing in Florida. And if you're investing in municipal bonds now, if coming from whatever state you were coming from previously, perhaps you could only invest in the state municipal bonds that you were living in. Now in Florida, since there's no state income tax, you do get that double taxation-free benefit of municipal bonds. So it allows you to invest in municipal bonds not only within Florida, but also a lot of other places as well, which could be helpful for your investment portfolio to provide some diversification as well. The second thing that I think about when it comes to estate plans, if you're retiring to Florida, is estate planning for retiring to Florida. So Florida law, so every state has their own law as far as how to handle estates. And so that's basically the process of whenever you pass away, how do the laws work for getting your assets from you to whomever your beneficiaries are. And it also would include decisions around power of attorney. And so making decisions, if you're unable to make financial decisions, how does that work out? And so the Florida law is different from other states. So depending on where you came from, you may need to update your estate plans. So the typical things an estate plan holds are perhaps a trust of some sort. A revocable trust is one that can be changed throughout your lifetime. An irrevocable trust is one that can't be changed. So it depends on what type of trust you may have and adjusting that. A will is basically what happens to is telling your estate, or telling the executor of your estate what you want done to your assets, or how you want your assets distributed amongst your lifetime or up after your lifetime. You also in Florida, the power of attorney is in particular of necessity, because even if you're married, your spouse would need power of attorney to be able to really do any sort of financial transactions on your behalf. And that's different than some other states. And so knowing that you may need a power of attorney, a durable power of attorney set up for you and even for your spouse, is a difference between some other states. And so whenever you're thinking about making your estate plans, looking at a durable power of attorney or adding that may be something that you need to do depending on the state that you're coming from. And so whenever of course, you just moved or you're planning on moving to Florida, you don't want to think about necessarily dying in Florida, but it is a potential reality, obviously, to be considered. And so making sure that your plans are in order to be able to transfer wealth easily without a burden on your family, if your family to be able to make decisions on your behalf if you're unable to do so, understanding the laws of Florida. Of course, working with an attorney to set all of that stuff up is pivotal, but not only getting the right documents in place, but also making sure that you have plans in place to help facilitate the use of those documents, and making sure that everybody is on the same page on what their expectations are and all of that. And the last thing that I would consider as you're retiring to Florida, another consideration is your insurance coverages. So in Florida, obviously, we have different risks than in different parts of the country. One of the main ones is hurricanes. And so when it comes to to home insurance, you are able to cover your house, and many times there's additional premiums for hurricane coverage as well, or damage related to hurricanes specifically, or even there's even flood insurance as well, which basically allows, in the event of heavy rains, sometimes the water may rise above and flood your house. And so having coverages in place for that. Now, if you work with an insurance broker, typically in Florida, they're going to be able to guide you through all of that. But sometimes people are doing insurance, trying to do it a DIY way, save some money, and try to be cut out certain coverages. And so you want to be careful on the insurance coverages that you choose for your home, because it could end up being a pretty substantial cost if you do end up having some sort of hurricane damage. Those deductibles are different than for other claims, and floods as well may not even be covered underneath your home insurance. So you have to really be careful on what risks you have exposed to in your home insurance purchases to be able to mitigate those risks as best you can using the proper insurances. And so those are just a few items that I think of whenever you're planning to retire in Florida or moving to Florida for retirement. Thinking about taxation, estate planning, and insurance coverages, those are things that you may not necessarily think of right off the bat, but are certainly prudent to consider when it comes to making your plans.